Join us as we dive into the history, hauntings, and high strange of the world to try to better understand the paranormal. I will be your guide. I am paranormal researcher and investigator Eric Freeman-Sims. Welcome to the Unseen Paranormal Podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Unseen Paranormal Podcast. Today we welcome paranormal investigator and podcast host John Curley. John is the founder of the Harris Area Paranormal Society and has been featured on episodes of Ghost Nation and The Haunted. He is also the host of his own podcast, The Paranormal Journal, and is the focus of the 2022 book Unholy Structure by Anna Maria Manalo. We're going to chat about John's experiences and some of his cases in the paranormal. Unholy Structure by Anna Maria Manalo is available on Amazon, Kindle, and wherever fine books are sold. For more information about John and the Harrisburg Area Paranormal Society, go to harrisburgareaparanormal.com, and the Paranormal Journal is available wherever you're listening right now. Hey, John, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Eric. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, like I was telling you before we started recording here, you came up on my radar. I was a beta reader for Unholy Structure, which that book is about a crazy case that you and your team had a few years ago. But we'll get into that a little later. So how did you start off in the paranormal and creating Harrisburg Area Paranormal?
Well, I started off in the paranormal by seeing a UFO, believe it or not. I was like 15 years old and seeing a UFO. And I lived in Baltimore City, and I seen it in the middle of the city. It was crazy. Like, it was above this big tree. And I was just walking, and I seen this blue light, kind of incandescent blue light flashing, like kind of going in and out, like kind of like a heartbeat, you know. And I looked up and I'm like, what the hell is that? And my cousin was with me, and I reached over to grab him and say, hey, look at this. And when I reached over, I was looking at it. It just took off like light speed, like Star Wars, out of sight in a second. You know, I'm like, holy shit, you know, I just seen a UFO.
Yeah.
He's like, no way. I was like, dude, you didn't see it? He's like, I didn't see it. I'm like, gotta be shitting me. You didn't see that? He's like, no. I'm like, dude, it was a UFO. I said, oh my God. And from that point on, I was hooked into like watching, you know, anything to do with UFOs or paranormal stuff. And back then, I think, you know, The Entity had came out in 1984. Amityville had already been out. And I was really started getting into watching these kind of movies. And I'm like, man, this is really fascinating because they're based on true accounts of paranormal, you know, hauntings and stuff. And I finally had an experience at a friend's house. He said, you know, that his house was haunted. And we seen the basement door open up on its own. And I'm like, oh my God, the basement door opened up. And he's like, oh yeah, that happens all the time here, man. We don't really worry about it. It's just part of, you know, living here. I'm like,
right.
Dude, that was cool, man. I'm like, dude, I'm like trying to spend the night at his house all the time after that, you know? I'm like, you don't want to see this ghost, dude. He's like, well, I never see anything. We just hear it, you know, or we hear footsteps and the door will open up. I'm like, that was really cool. You know, and then I really started getting into reading stuff, and I'm 50 years old now, so, you know, back then there wasn't a whole lot of TV shows you had like In Search of and That's Incredible and stuff like that. You know, it's not like the ghost shows that are out now.
Right.
And there was really no guidance in paranormal investigating. The only stuff you've seen was like in movies, you know. Never even heard of paranormal investigators except the Warrens, and they were far and in between of really. You know, you might see them on TV every once in a while, you know what I mean, or a newscast or something of a haunted house in Connecticut or something like that, you know. And a lot of years I just did a lot of research on it until I got into my mid-20s. And then I moved out of Baltimore to Pennsylvania, close to Gettysburg, because I had a fascination with the Civil War and history. And I moved close to Gettysburg battlefield, and I started reading up on the ghosts of Gettysburg, and I just started going up to the battlefield, messing around on the battlefield with a little handheld recorder and some little EMF detectors that came out. And I met up with a guy. We founded the Harrisburg Area Paranormal Society together in 2006, but we were doing investigations on the battlefield prior to that from 2000 on till we basically got organized into the what our group is now, the Harrisburg Area Paranormal Society. But we met through a meetup a paranormal kind of meetup, and we just started doing things on the battlefield with other people, and we wanted to take it to another level. And I'm like, this is okay, but I want to really get into someone's, helping people and trying to figure out this phenomenon.
Yeah.
And the battlefield's interesting, but you're limited time on the battlefield because at a certain time you got to be off the battlefield. You can't be there after 10 o'clock at night. In the summer and the winter, the hours are less, so you're limited in your time to be on the battlefield. And there's a lot of tourists, so the winter time is about the only time you can really get there and investigate. So we decided to go into our own thing and start, the Harrisburg Area Paranormal Society. And I built a website, and lo and behold, we started gaining ground, and people started emailing us and calling us, and the caseload got really heavy, and we started getting into some really cool cases like right away. Like, I was really surprised that we got a case within the first month of having a website. We got a case. I was like, wow, this is cool. I already got a case. And back then we didn't have a whole lot of equipment. I think we had 4 cameras and a couple EMF detectors, some K2 meters, and a couple digital voice recorders. We were going at it, and our first case was pretty amazing. We had a lot of stuff happen where a woman was, these people had moved into a home, and one of them, the lady got out of the shower and got assaulted by an unseen force. Something smacked her when she got out of the shower. Yeah. And they beat it out of there. They moved out of the house, and they had just bought the house, and they just packed their stuff and they left and foreclosed on the house and everything. But she gave me the key. He said, you're more than welcome to go in there, but I'm not going back in the house. I'll never step a foot in there again. And I don't even think we were in the house 20 minutes in the room where she got assaulted. Don was in there setting up a camera. He come running out of the house. He's like, dude, the bedroom door just shut on its own. I'm like, no way. He goes, yeah, man, it shut on its own. I'm like, oh, this is going to be interesting. But what was weird about it, Eric, is, it was like July. There was no power on. There was no water. Everything was shut off. There was no air conditioning. There's nothing. There's no power in the house. And we went into the house. The house was cold. And it's mid-July. It should be sweltering hot in there. Right. And it was cool. I'm like, I don't get it why it's so cool in here. And we're like, it's 90 degrees outside, and it's cool in here. It was really weird. It was a really weird house. We just started experiencing a lot of stuff right away. Pretty amazing case for the first one.
Yeah. And then also to be, have Gettysburg right in your backyard, to kind of, even with its limitations, to kind of cut your teeth on that and get used to using equipment and doing different experiments and things like that.
Yeah, Gettysburg Battlefield is pretty haunted. I mean, you do get a lot of EVPs, and you hear a lot of phantom gunfire and cannon fire. You hear a lot of cannon fire. In the middle of February, you hear distant cannons, boom, boom, boom. Like, what the hell was that? I had my daughter with me one time, and it was Valentine's Day, and I was walking around a battlefield, and we heard a couple cannon fire, boom, boom. She was, what was that? I'm like, it was cannon fire. She's like, really? I was like, yeah. She goes, I was wondering I thought that was a motorcycle or something. I said, that ain't a motorcycle. That was, you could feel the percussion from it. I was like, yeah, it was weird. Yeah, we were on right by Little Round Top, and that's where we heard it at.
Yeah, I got a place here close to me. I talked about it a lot on the show. We used to sneak in there when I was a teenager, but it's an old plantation house called Carton Plantation. It's pretty much where the Battle of Franklin happened on their front lawn, and they used the house as a hospital.
Oh, I've seen that. I've seen it on TV before, I think.
Yeah, they don't allow any kind of paranormal stuff. The director of the Franklin Battlefield Trust, he doesn't do any paranormal stuff, but you go up there, you hear gunshots and cannon fire, and I had a ghost horse run through me before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we two of my friends witnesses, we heard of the galloping and the whinny, and I felt it go through me. And then we saw the grass move out the other side, and my friends run up. They were about 10 feet behind me, and they were like, "What the hell? Did you just have a ghost horse run through you?" But yeah, so I love the Civil War history. We have a huge Civil War history in Franklin, and hopefully I can make it out to the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash this year. I want to come out there in July and check that out. But,
yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah. I'm trying to make that happen. I live in Tennessee, so it's a little bit of a drive, but I think it'd be worth it.
That's awesome. I'll have a vendor table set up there, and I'll be doing the podcast all 3 days there, man. I hope you can make it.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Pretty cool.
Also, one of your first cases, and you kind of been dealing with this same case over the years, was the case of the lady in black that y'all were featured on Ghost Nation with.
Yeah, we started that case back in 2014, and we're still investigating it. To this day, they're still having paranormal phenomena. It changes daily in that house. It is a wicked house. It is one of the creepiest houses I've ever been in. It just gives you a really uneasy feeling being in there. Every time I've been in there, I've just felt really uneasy. And when TAPS came in with us, it was just like, it felt different when they were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I investigated with Tango, and I investigated with Sherry, Jason, and Steve, and it didn't feel as active as it usually did when they were there. But the other times when we were there, we had lots of phenomena going on, banging. At one point, I was in the bathroom, using the bathroom. I was taking a leak, and and something came into the bathroom with me, and I didn't know it, but I just felt this kind of breeze like come up behind me, like if somebody's coming up real fast behind you, and they stop, and the air keeps coming forward.
Yeah.
And that's what happened, and it kind of came up behind me, and I'm like, "What the hell was that?" And I turned around, there was nobody there, so I'm like, "Okay, I'm just continuing on, handle my business." And, and next thing I know, and I hear this voice in my ear. It was the creepiest damn voice I've heard in my life. It scared the shit out of me. It said almost like it had its, someone put their hand up to your ear and was kind of like that,
Yeah.
And it said, "There are many, but I am one." In this really creepy kind of demonic sounding voice. I don't like saying demonic, but it sounded like,
right.
Like something from The Exorcist or something, man. Like this creepy ass voice, man. And I mean, I think I might have pissed on the wall and the toilet seat and the floor. I couldn't get my ass out of there fast enough,
Yeah.
That's the only time I ever really got out of a house, because I thought something was going to happen, like really bad. Like it waited for me to get alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was the creepy part about it, is like it isolated me from the other team members to say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I was kind of being forceful with it. Like why are you here? Leave the house, get out of this house. And it didn't like what I was saying. That's for damn sure. I wasn't provoking, because there was they did have children, and one of their children actually passes away during the investigation. Not while we're investigating, but we investigated the first time, and we found a Ouija board in the house, and we were like, they did say they were using a Ouija board, and they were getting communication between the Ouija board. They were kind of doing it like a family night thing, which is not really very cool, but that's what they were doing. And the youngest daughter, her name was Lydia, and she was getting messed with the most, getting harassed by this entity, this thing, whatever it was. She would see a woman in black with no face. She would see a white face over, she would wake up and this thing would be like inches from her face, and she would freak out, and the lights would be flashing on and off in her bedroom. One time they called me, and they were freaking out that the attic lights are just going on and off, on and off, on and off. And I literally live about 4.5 hours away from them. They live right outside of Pittsburgh, and I'm down in near the Gettysburg area. And I'm like, there's nothing I can do. I'm almost 5 hours away. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So all I can tell you is get out of the attic and don't go in the attic. A lot of phenomena was happening in the attic. And when we found the Ouija board, as a paranormal investigator, I'm looking at the board. I'm like, I've never had shit happen with a Ouija board. I just never have. I don't know if it works for certain people, or, I never had any faith in a Ouija board. Never really messed with them too tough. I always heard people talking about them. So I said, I'll try it. I sat down. I put my hands on it. I said, I'll see if it works. We're supposed to be in a haunted house, see if it works. I didn't have anything happen. Nothing happened. It didn't move. It didn't. As an investigator, I want to see if it's going to move. It's going to do something.
Right.
For our own, we're researching this stuff. You got to try things to see if it really is real, or is it an urban legend? Does it work? Nothing happened. But when we were messing with it, at the same time, we're downstairs. There's no one upstairs. We capture a disembodied voice on the camera system, and we catch it on 3 other devices upstairs. And it says, it's a man's voice, and it says, "I'll kill his kids."
Wow.
And we captured it on 4 different recording devices and a camera.
Yeah.
So it's telling me there was definitely disembodied voices because the recorders were all in different rooms. The camera was in the hallway. It happened in the hallway.
Yeah.
We're like, in the bathroom's literally right there where the camera was. It was just really weird. And, we didn't know we actually captured it until we went home and we started reviewing the evidence. And Carl called me. He goes, "Man, you're never going to believe this. We got a disembodied voice in the camera saying, 'I'll kill his kids.'" I'm like, "No way." He's like, "Send it to me." I'm listening to it. I'm like, "Holy shit." Never had anything say I was going to kill somebody's kids,
Right.
So we went back for the reveal. We presented the evidence. I'm like, "Look, we got this voice saying, something's going to kill your kids." I would take it highly as a warning. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the father's a pretty big guy. He's about 6'3". He used to be a bodybuilder, real big guy. Really nice guy, but he's a big ass guy. And he's like, "Man, nothing's gonna hurt me or my family or my kids." I'm like, "You're dealing with something that's not of this world, man. This is some supernatural stuff. This isn't like a physical person that you can grab and fight. You know what I mean? This is something we don't understand,
Yeah.
He goes, "I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it." I'm like, "Okay, I'm just letting you know what we caught. And if you need us, we're here for you. And we'll come back and investigate as many times as you want and try to find some answers, because it takes more than one investigation to try to figure something out." So we left, went home. 2 months later, we get a call from the mother that Lydia had passed away in the attic. She was 14.
Wow.
And man, I was blown away. It was such a surreal moment, and probably a paranormal investigator's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
It crushed me for a long time. It still affects me to this day. It's a weird feeling, man. Because you're supposed to be helping these people, and something like that happens. It's not an easy thing to get over. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's very difficult, and you fight with it. I still fight with it all the time. And because I had a daughter the same age, and my daughter was the same age when she passed, and we went back after that, and when you see the pain on their face, and the hurt, and it's a terrible thing.
Yeah.
And to think that maybe something in that house was responsible for it, it was scary, man.
Yeah, and medically they say that she passed away from an undiagnosed heart issue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, like you're saying, we don't know
the circumstances behind that EVP,
right?
And then she passes 2 months later. I don't know, man. I'm thinking that something in the house was definitely, that was either some kind of omen, or maybe it was responsible for her having this heart attack. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be scared to death. You know what I mean?
Right.
Literally. Right. If you have a heart condition and something scares the hell out of you that much, it could probably cause your heart to just stop.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get into a situation, your heart is really racing, man. I mean, something scares you, your heart you can feel it jumping out of your chest, man, And I definitely think whatever was in the house was responsible. In my heart, that's what I feel. I know she had an undiagnosed heart condition, but
right
in my heart, I think that whatever was in that house was either foreseeing the future of something with her or one of the kids, or it was responsible.
Yeah. And also, it kind of makes what we do a lot more real, because usually we're talking to people who died 100 years ago or more. We're talking people from the past. And so to have something like that happen, while you're investigating on top of, and then you got that EVP on top of that 2 months before. Yeah. That is, wow.
Yeah, it was really creepy. And when we went back after she had passed, the atmosphere was a lot different. I don't know if it was because we knew she had passed in the attic, and then we went up to the attic. Yeah, she was when we first went there, she was alive, and we'd seen her, and we talked to her, and we were in her room, and when we went back up again, her room was packed up, and her things were put away, and man, it was such a surreal moment that life is really short, man.
Yeah.
Really short, and for these people to be experiencing this kind of stuff, and there's no answer to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was hard, man. It was a really hard investigation, and the paranormal phenomena was like amped up to another level that wasn't like that the first time we were there. That's when I heard the voice in my ear saying, "There are many, but I am one." I beat it out of there. I didn't tell the other investigators what I heard. Because I didn't want to freak them out. So I just went outside and I sat in my car for about 20 minutes. And Carl came out. He goes, "Hey, man, you coming in? What's going on?" I'm like, "Nah, I was just making a call." Kind of I lied to him, And I said, "Yeah, I'll be in." But I was shook up, man. That's the only time I've ever been really shook up in a case. And that was one of them, And so I went back in. And he's like, "We're going to go back upstairs." I said, "Nah, I'm not going to go back upstairs." I didn't want to go back upstairs after that. I said, "Nah, I'm not going to go. I'm going to stay down here and watch the cameras." So we were all sitting downstairs, and Carl was on one side of the table. Ryan was with him, and I was on the other side by myself. And all of a sudden, they both looked at each other, and I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You didn't just hear that?" I'm like, "Hear what?" He's like, "We just heard this creepy ass voice in between us, man. I don't know what it said, but it was creepy." I said, "Dude, I didn't hear it." He's like, "You gotta be shitting. You didn't hear that?" I'm like, "I didn't hear it. I didn't hear anything." And I was only sitting 3 feet away from him, but I didn't hear a thing. But I can't believe you didn't hear it. I'm like, "Nah, I didn't hear it." And not even 10 minutes later, Carl was sitting there and something pulled him back in the chair. He was sitting in the chair and it pulled him and the chair away from the table, the dining room table.
Wow.
And he jumped up, man. His eyes were like big as saucers, he's a total skeptic. Carl's the biggest skeptic. We call him the exorcist, when we go in places, because he's like, "Ain't nothing going to happen today. The exorcist is with you today." So, this is the kind of skeptic he is, and that house turned him into a believer that day, man, because he was freaked out. He's like, I never thought that I would experience something like that, man. That was insane.
Yeah.
And it was, the light was progressively going on. We were having different things happening. And I just told him, I said, "Look, when we break down stuff, just don't be alone in the house." He's like, "What?" They're like, "Why?" I said, "Just don't be alone in the house. Have somebody with you." They're like, "Why?" I said, "Look, just don't be alone, because I just had this feeling like this thing likes to get you alone and isolate you, and it knows what scares you, man. It's really intelligent in the house. It's creepy as hell." And so we're still sitting at the dining room table. I was like, "If we break down, just don't be alone upstairs," And they're like, "Okay." So I took my hand. I said, if you're here, do this. And I just banged on the table like 7 times, like really hard. And it was shaking the house when I was hitting it. Boom, boom. Because I was kind of mad that all this stuff was going on. And I was just banging on the table. I said, "Do it." Boom, 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 boom. It was really loud. And nothing happened. So, a couple hours go by. It's about 4 a.m. or something like that. And I said, let's pack it up and go back to the hotel. He's like, "All right." So we're packed up. We're getting ready to head out the door. And all of a sudden we hear those bangs coming from upstairs. As many times as I banged on the table like 7 times. It banged 7 times upstairs, like really loud, like boom, boom, boom. We're like, it was shaking the house. I looked at Carl. I'm like, "Holy shit." He goes, "Man, let's get the hell out of here, man." He's like,
"Yeah,
I'm freaked out, man." He goes, "Let's get the hell out of here, man." And we just shut the door and we left. I'm like, we got back to the hotel and they were all freaked out, man. They're like, "Dude, what is in that house, man?" I'm like, "I don't know, dude." I said, "I'm going to sleep, man." We went to sleep, and the next morning I woke up. We're packing our stuff up, go out to my car, and on the back of the window, there's this writing in the window, and it says "Go home" in the dirt in the window.
Wow.
And the E, it's weird. It looks like someone was like a little kid was scribbling it in the dirt. And then the E was this weird E. It was like backwards. And I thought Carl did it. Me and Carl was joking around in investigations, you know. And he comes out. I was like, I like the "Go Home" you wrote on the window. I said, real spooky, huh? He goes, I didn't write that. I was like, yeah, right. He goes, I didn't write that, dude. I said, man, stop bullshitting me, man. You wrote that in there. He goes, I didn't write that in there. He said, I'm telling you. He goes, who did that? I'm like, you. He goes, I didn't. We were out there arguing about it, you know. I'm like, you didn't do that. He goes, no. He goes, that's creepy, man. I'm like, I gotta tell you something even creepier, dude. I heard something in the bathroom. That creepy voice you guys heard? He goes, yeah. I said, well, I heard it like up close and personal, dude. It scared the shit out of me. He's like, oh, man, you gotta be shitting me. I was like, no. I said, well, so when I went outside, I think whatever it was followed me out there now that this is on the window.
Right.
And it wanted us the hell out of there, man, you know? And when I got home, I started listening to audio. And sure enough, in the audio on the second floor recorder, there's a "Go Home" in the recorder. I'm like, holy shit, this thing followed me out to the car. You know what I mean? I'm like, it followed me out to my car and wrote "Go Home" on the window. And then I get a EVP saying "Go Home" in this man's voice. You know, I'm like, oh shit, you know, like, and then Carl started having weird things happening in the house, in his house. And he was seeing the shadow and like really weird stuff was happening. And, you know, we just couldn't figure it out, you know, like, something follow us home, you know? And he's like, hey, something followed us home, man. And I'm like, oh shit, you know, I know. And I started having weird things like knocking on the windows and knocking on the bedroom door, and a lot of really weird stuff was going on, you know. And a couple years went by. We're still investigating. We're still coming up with things. And, you know, I just said, you know, maybe I need to reach out to HAPS and get those guys in here and see if we can get some help in here and figure out what's really going on. You know, get deep into the research of this house and see if maybe a murder or something happened here. I mean, because they were hearing like a little kid crying, and it would wake the whole house up. And they would go looking for this little kid, and there was none. And they're seeing a woman in black. They're seeing a man in the house. I mean, so many things. And, you know, I'm just like, when I heard that voice, there are many, but I am one. I'm thinking maybe it's saying it's, you know, being many things, but it's only one thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was freaky. And when they came in, you know, they didn't catch a whole lot of things. And they had some weird things with REM pods and stuff. And me and Tango heard some low whispering when we were in the attic. And I thought it was the cameraman. And I looked over at the cameraman. I'm like, are you guys whispering? And they're like, no. I was like, you don't hear the whispering? He's like, no. And Tango goes, well, I heard whispering. I said, you heard like this low whispering, like talking, right? He's like, yeah. I said, no one in here's talking. He's like, no. I'm like, I hear it. I said, I can hear it through the recorder.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, I hear it too, because Tango was plugged in too. And he's like, yeah, man, I hear it. He said, I hear it too. And that was about the extent of what the whole investigation was for a week. You know, we were in there for a week. And there wasn't a whole lot of things happening. Some footsteps. We did hear some footsteps and stuff like that. And what's really weird is after that investigation with them, they were hearing a voice coming from the attic, and it was calling Carl's name, and it was calling Tango's name. And I'm like, I'm sure glad it wasn't calling mine. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, she's like, we keep hearing the man's voice in the attic calling for Carl and Tango. I'm like, you got to be shitting me. She's like, no, it calls for them too. I'm like,
wow.
Oh, jeez. You know, like, what the hell is in this house, man?
So y'all never found any kind of history on that property or anything to suggest anything?
Newcastle was a big, kind of like a stopping point for the mob, the Italian mafia. There was like a lot of illegal gambling and bootlegging and things like that back in, you know, the early times. But there was a swamp there. They called it Murder Swamp, and there were some murders and stuff like that. What's really weird is nothing happened in that house, but a couple blocks away, a cult had came through Newcastle, and some people were murdered through this cult. And they found a woman killed and beheaded, and a small kid killed and beheaded.
Wow.
A couple blocks from that house. There was nothing ever pointed to them being in that house. But sure enough, there's a woman in black there. They hear a kid crying. And when I was in there, I captured the voice of this woman saying, you know, I want my baby. Like, I want my baby. Almost like she was crying, you know. And I'm like, could they have got murdered in this house and their body dumped? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Why would these be here? You know, it just doesn't make any sense. You know, when they said that, it put a little chill up my spine because I'm like, they're seeing a woman in black in here. They're hearing a small kid crying. And it's not a coincidence. And they find the body's not far from this house, you know?
Right.
Could they have been murdered there? It's highly possible.
Yeah. That's an insane haunting and a sad story for them to have lost their daughter and have those questions of, was it just a heart defect or did the paranormal have something to do with it? And then still have to live in that house every day and worry about, you know, their children, their other children and themselves, you know, is it going to affect them or do something to them?
Yeah. And it mimics their voices. At one point they thought they seen their daughter after she had passed walking through the dining room. And I mean, just so many weird things in the house. It's eerie, you know?
Yeah.
And to live in it every day, you know, I don't know how they do it. I know why they don't want to move because they lost their daughter in that house. And
right.
They might think, you know, if they move that, you know, she's going to be stuck there without them. You know what I mean? That's how I would probably feel, you know?
Yeah.
It's a really sad story, man. You know, it's a story that definitely needed to be told, you know, to me, just to let people know this girl she was a beautiful young girl and she lost her life.
Yeah.
You know, it should have been paranormal. Maybe it wasn't, you know what I mean? But I don't know, man. There was just a lot of weird coincidences, you know, like I'll kill his kids and then 2 months later, one of them dies, you know, and it's just strange. You know, was it a kind of weird omen or something? You know what I mean? Letting them know, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
Yeah. On Ghost Nation, they brought in Bill Bean, the kind of world famous exorcist. And did his cleansing blessing help at all?
It did for a little while, for about a year. And then it came back. Yeah, I'm actually good friends with Bill. We're both Baltimore boys. We grew up in Baltimore together. And I reached out. I actually had them reach out to Bill and bring him up there because he was involved in a demonic haunting when he was a kid.
Yeah.
His house was haunted in Glen Burnie, Maryland, and by this demonic forces. And I go by that house all the time. The original house is gone, but they have a new house in its place. But I thought it would be a good thing to get him there and at least try to do something to help. You know what I mean?
Right.
To try to get rid of the phenomena. But it's still there, man. You know, a lot of people think that blessings, you know, it's just going to be, you know, it's just going to go away. And, you know, and 98% of the cases, it never goes away, man. You know, it's always there. I love it when people get on TV and say they sprinkle some fairy dust around and now it's gone. You know, that's not how it is, man. That's TV bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's entertainment. This is real life, man. These things are hard to get rid of.
Yeah.
It's not a game. You know, people go into these houses and, you know, people's residence and they start, you know, invoking stuff and provoking and, you know, acting like they're exorcists and things like that. And they have no idea what damage they're causing. You know what I mean? Families got to live there. Right. Kids have to live there. This shit is serious, man, you know? And I hate when I see people doing stuff like that because it's dangerous, man.
Yeah, you're fucking with people's real lives.
Yeah, man, this shit is serious. Someone can get killed.
Yeah.
We don't know the capabilities of this phenomena, man. You know what I mean? We don't know its strengths. We don't know its weaknesses. We don't know nothing about it. And I love when people say they got the answers to this shit because they're full of shit.
Right.
We don't have any answers any closer than we did 50 years ago. You know? We know the phenomena exists. You know what I mean? It's there. We've all experienced it. It's there, man. But how do you get rid of something you can't see? You don't understand, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like here on the show, I rail against the expert shit all the time, and I hate they do that on TV shows because you can't be a fucking expert in something you can't prove, for one, and you can't recreate the phenomena. Like you said, we know it's real because we've experienced so much shit. I mean, just between the experience that me and you have, the experiences that we've had in the course of both of our 20 years of doing this shit, mean, I've had so many experiences, you have too, to prove to me that it's real. But yeah, that whole expert thing is just, it drives me insane.
Yeah, there are no experts, man. There are none. You know what I mean? We do this shit at our own risk. Something could happen to us.
Right.
You know what I mean? Something could come here and start affecting my family, me, my wife, my kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the dangers we risk when we do this stuff. And you know, you see this shit on TV with this ghost adventures bullshit, and you know, oh, we're demon slayers, and you know, and there's all these paranormal experts, and there are no experts, man. We're just going here, and if I do a lecture or something, or I'm talking about this stuff, I'm just explaining my personal experiences. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not telling you I have a solution to get rid of these things, because I don't. You know what I mean? I really don't. I don't understand it. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody understands it, really. You know what I mean? It's unpredictable. Yeah. It's 100% unpredictable, you know, of when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, where it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, you know?
Yeah.
And you get these people out here that, you know, they all want to be these demonologists and exorcists, and using some of these stupid camera apps, you know, phone apps and shit, you know, they're just ridiculous, you know, like the SLS app on a phone. That's not even an SL, and that's not even an SLS. It's just a phone app.
Right.
You know what I mean? An SLS is a serious program, a mapping program. Your phone is not capable of doing that.
Yeah.
And you got people out there, oh, look, there's a ghost over there. That's this camera on the phone just picked it up. That's bullshit. And you're giving people a false positive to something in their house, and then they'll talk about their house is haunted because they picked it up on a stupid phone app. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I've done some public events, and I do public events all the time, but we were at the Thomas house a couple months ago, and before dinner, these ladies were walking around and just checking the place out, and they had that stupid Ghost Radar. I think it's Ghost Radar, Ghost Finder app on their phone. And they were all into it. And they're walking around by themselves to the halls, and I was up there like setting up DVR and all that stuff, and they come in there like, it got a name, a doctor. Was Dr. So-and-so over here? I'm like, no. I'm like, that app that's entertainment. I'm like, that's not finding anything. And you would have thought that I kicked their dog or something, like the look on their face, because I burst their bubble, you know, because I'm telling them the truth, but they see this bullshit on all these TV shows. And so they think, you know, it's real. No, it's entertainment. They have to have ratings, so they have to be entertaining. And I'm with you. Why people still watch that Ghost Adventures bullshit, and why it's been on for so fucking long, and Zach Baggins is so famous and rich, you know, off of other people's misery, is ridiculous.
Yeah. It's like that GhostTube app. I hate that fucking thing. Yeah. That GhostTube, I hate it with a passion, man. And I see people using it, and they put it on Facebook, and they think they're catching ghosts, and they're telling people, oh, yeah, there's one right there, you know, and I'm like, man, these people, they don't have a clue, man, of what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's not paranormal investigating. And they always call it a ghost hunt or something like that. I'm not hunting ghosts. I'm a paranormal researcher, man. I'm investigating claims of paranormal phenomena. I'm not hunting a ghost.
Right.
If anything, they're hunting us. We can't see these things. You know what I mean? And if you do see one, you got pretty goddamn lucky. You know?
Yeah.
All the years I've been investigating, I've only seen maybe 5 times in 20 plus years of investigating. I've seen maybe 5 times I've seen things. That's a long time, and only seeing it maybe 5 times.
And a lot of investigations. Yeah.
Yeah. And hundreds of investigations, you know?
Yeah.
5 times. That's not a good ratio. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, you see them, they go to all these big places, you know, and they think they're going to see ghosts, and they're provoking, and they're doing things, and it's just, it ain't cool, man. You know, to me, it's not. That's not what paranormal investigating is about, man. It's trying to find an answer, you know, and I'm no scientist, you know?
Right. Yeah. And when the only time that I use the term ghost hunt is when we do public events, because I think that's what people know it by. Right. Yeah. So I'm just using their terminology just so people know, okay, well, this is a public ghost hunt. You know, if you put paranormal investigation, some people might not know what that is. And I think just from an advertising standpoint, it's just using those words, you know, as opposed to investigation. But Our stance with the, I do events with PPF Investigations and Medics for Paranormal, and then myself, and our stance is we want to offer you the real deal. Like, this is really how investigations are done. We have all the equipment they have on TV, but I will tell you why I think it's all a crock of shit. Now, my investigative partners, they believe in some of it that I don't. I'm not a big equipment guy. I think a lot of it was brought in because of TV shows and because of entertainment.
Yep. Moneymaker.
Yeah. And so, we start off right off bat, getting in front of everybody and saying, this is not TV. We're not going to fake anything. We may sit in the dark for the next 4 hours and not catch shit.
Exactly.
It's like fishing, and be grateful if we get anything, because we're hopefully connecting with people from the past, from history. But we try to be really real with people and give them the authentic experience of, this is how investigations are done, the best of our ability in a big group of people, But we offer people hands-on. I know there's other groups out there that say, sit down, shut up, and watch us investigate. But we try to get people hands-on experience and get them involved, because if they bought a ticket, why should they just sit and watch a theatrical stage show? If you come to one of our events, you're going to be part of the investigation. You're going to have a piece of equipment. You're going to ask questions during EVP sessions. Like, we want you involved.
Yeah. We had a couple new members, and one guy in particular, Tom, he's my case manager now, Tom Muller. Man, this guy, he comes with us, man. He is like into it, man. And he never really experienced anything paranormal, and he heard his first disembodied voice. And I was happy for him to hear it. You know what I mean? Because we both heard it together. And he looked at me, and I looked at him. I was like, you heard that, right? He goes, that was cool shit, man. And he was hooked after that, man. I mean, he was hooked like just hooked on it, man. He's like, man, this is awesome, dude. It was awesome. I'm like, yeah, man, when you hear something like that, man, it's amazing, know?
Yeah, and I kind of love that too, because it's easy after you've been doing this for so long to get kind of jaded a little bit and kind of get comfortable, I guess. And for me to see somebody like that, I think it renews, I don't know, like a childhood fascination in me again,
Yeah.
Like I did when I started out doing investigations and going and seeking out paranormal stuff. I still get excited, of course, because, I love doing this. But yeah, it kind of helps renew that fascination and seeing it through. It's almost like seeing it through a kid's eyes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I was excited for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, dude, I'm excited for you.
All right. So you had another crazy case that I wanted to get into, which is the Unholy Structure book that Anna Maria Manala wrote about your case. Man, there is in this place, and I know because of the place's anonymity and all that stuff because of legal reasons, but it was a mansion that they were remodeling, and this place has every phenomenon you could fucking think of.
Oh yeah, it was crazy haunted. I mean, crazy haunted.
So how did you first get involved with that?
Actually, I first got involved with it. A lot of things aren't in the book that actually that she didn't put in the book, but I found that place when I was working, and I just was on lunch break, and I happened to see it back behind the woods, and I was like, what the hell was back there,
Yeah.
And I walked back there, and I knocked on the door. It was a huge mansion, man. I mean, huge, really old, 1700s, really old. And I knocked on the door, and I seen there was construction going on and stuff, and so I knocked on the door, and the door just kind of came open. It was open, and I'm like, I seen trucks, but I think they were down in the basement working, and the owner came down, and I was talking to him, and he's like, I said, man, this place is awesome. He's like, hey, let me take you for a little, walkthrough of the place. And it had Civil War history in it. So he's, taking me around. And I was like, man, this place is really cool, man. It's so old. And you're walking in the footsteps of history. And, just a lot of really cool stuff about the place. I mean, it needed a lot of work. It needed renovating. But, you could tell the old architecture and the woodworking and just amazing stuff, And
yeah.
I said, is this place haunted? He goes, I've never had anything happen here. He said, but the construction workers are seeing things and hearing things. And, a couple guys have ran out of here and not come back. They were down in the basement, and they set their tools down. They turned around, and their tools were gone. I'm like, what do you mean gone? He's like, it's gone. They couldn't find them again. Then they show up like a week later. Like they just couldn't figure out. And they were hearing voices and seeing things in the basement, and they just didn't come back. And a couple crews had quit, didn't come back. One crew quit and left all their tools there. They didn't even come back to get their tools.
Wow.
And they were like, nah, man, this place is crazy haunted. We're not coming back here, dude. And like, and the basement is like, they had like slaves and stuff that were kept in the basement, and it was part of there was a lot of things involved with that place. It was a lot of things over the years that when we got into the research of it. It was a girls' school, a military academy, Civil War hospital. It was a lot of different things involved with that place, and it changed hands. By a lot of owners had it too over the years, which was weird to me. I'm like, well, a lot of owners have had this place, and they don't stay very long. From what we were looking at the deeds and stuff, I'm like, man, like 2 years, they're gone. Some like a year, and I said, is the place, asking him questions, the owner, and I was like, you ever had any paranormal teams coming here? And he's like, nah, not really. He said, but I'm starting to wonder if this place is really haunted. He said, I've never really experienced anything. I've had it for a little while. He said, but I'm trying to get it fixed up, but none of the crews want to stay here. They said they're seeing soldiers outside and seeing a dog, a black dog, and all kinds of really weird stuff, and I'm like, okay. I said, have you seen it? He goes, I haven't seen it personally, but I don't live here. I'm just renovating it. He was, he didn't live in the home. He was just renovating it.
Yeah.
And I said, well, if you ever need anybody to come and investigate it, I'm a paranormal investigator. I'll come back and we'll investigate it. And he's, yeah, I'll think about it. And it wasn't a week later, he called and he's like, yeah, man, I'm going to need you, man. Another crew quit. I'm like, wow. Another one? He's like, from the first time I was there? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, man, we'll be there. So that Friday came, we started to investigate, and man, we started to have a lot of things happen. I was in the house by myself before anybody even showed up, and I called the owner. I got there early, and I called the owner. There was no one there, and I said, hey, man, I'm here, and I'll just wait for you. He goes, oh, man, I left the door open for you. Go inside. Help yourself, man. Walk around. Check the place out more, see where you want to set things up. I was like, hey, cool. The place was humongous. It had a ton of rooms. The basement, it was gigantic. And I'm like, man, I don't even have enough cameras to cover this place. It's so big. So I go up to the third floor, and I'm just walking around. Right away, I hear a woman says my name. It was wild. I go up there and I'm walking down the hallway and hear this woman go, John. I'm like, holy shit. I stopped right in my tracks. I'm walking. I just heard this, John. I'm like, whoop. I'm like, oh shit. And it was behind me. I'm like, I'm turning around. There's a woman standing here. I'm going to shit myself, Yeah. And I turn around real slow and there's nothing there. I'm like, holy shit. That was definitely a disembodied voice. I start walking a little further. I took maybe like 5 or 6 more steps, and I hear a woman again, and she says, "Come to the back room." I'm like, "Holy shit!" I'm not even in here 5 minutes, and I hear 2 disembodied voices, in less than 2 minutes apart. I'm like,
"Yeah,
holy shit, man!"
And I'm definitely not going to the back room.
Yeah, I said I'm going downstairs, dude. I went. They had 2. It had a couple set of stairs that went up to those floors. I beat it down the one set. To the second floor, the first floor, out the front door I went. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna wait till some people get here before I go back in. And they started showing up. They're like, dude, this place is cool as shit. It's huge, man. It's old as shit. I'm like, yeah, dude, this place is it's haunted. He goes, how the hell you know? I said, man, I just heard 2 disembodied voices in less than 2 minutes, man. They're like, are you shitting me? I'm like, no. And we had just a couple people with us. I think it was like maybe 3 of us, and I was like, dude, this is going to be interesting, and we started setting things up, and right away, man, we started hearing this banging. They had like a ballroom in there, and really big ballroom, and man, we started hearing this banging coming from the ballroom, like boom. And it was going on for minutes. Not like it was like a couple seconds. It was like minutes, like boom, boom, boom. I mean, really loud. And we're like, what the hell is that? Is this the heating system or something? You know, we didn't know what it was. So we went down to the basement thinking it was maybe the heater was going up or something, the heating system or something was getting ready to blow up or something, you know?
Right.
And we're still hearing it, and it's not the heating system. The heating system kicks on, and it's actually quiet. You know, it's a new heating system, too. And I'm like, it's not the heating system. Listen, you can still hear boom, boom. Like, we go back upstairs, and I'm like, it's at the other end. And they're like, what? I'm like, it's in the ballroom. So we start walking our way down to the ballroom, and man, as we're getting there, it's getting louder and louder and louder. I'm like, holy shit, it's in the ballroom. As soon as we got to the threshold of the ballroom, silence, man. You could hear a pin drop. I'm like, holy shit. I was like, what was it banging on? And the only thing that was in there was a little makeshift stage in there, like a little platform.
Yeah.
And I walked over to it, and I hit it with my foot on the top. Boom. And that's what it was. It made the same noise. Like someone had their foot on it going boom, boom, boom. There was no one in the house. I'm like, that was really cool. Creepy, but cool.
Yeah.
Man, the place, I mean, it just started escalating from there. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, all kinds of things were happening. We're hearing disembodied voices, whistling. I got all this stuff on recording. It's amazing. I'll have to let you hear it, man. It is. We'll have to do another episode, and I'll let you hear some of the recordings from this place, man. It's incredible. Totally incredible.
Yeah, and the black dog phenomenon.
Oh yeah,
because there was a worker who experienced that before y'all did, and man, that's crazy. Yeah. It blows my mind how much energy some of these places can have. Like, where does it come from?
Yeah, I mean, at one point, the black dog, they had a shed outside, and there was a guy out there cutting the grass, and he heard this dog like barking coming from the shed. It was an old stone shed. I think it was a church or something at one time. Like they used to do like a little service out there or something, but it was like a little shed right beside the place. And you hear this dog barking, and he opens the door, and it's that black dog, and it's snarling, you know, showing its teeth. It's a black German Shepherd, and it's snarling, showing his teeth. He slams the door shut, puts a big a rock in front of it, and this is what the owner's saying, you know. And the guy, you know, the owner shows up, and he's like, "Hey man, your dog is in that shed, and he is pissed. Like, you need to get your dog out of there. He's been in there all day." Because the guy's like, the dog's been in there all day, man. I put a rock in front of it so you know he wouldn't get out, but he's vicious, man. He's looking to bite me. He goes, "I don't own a dog." He goes, "What?" He goes, "There's a black German Shepherd in there, dude, man. I locked him in there." He said, "Man, you might want to call animal services or something, man, because it's highly pissed off, man, showing his teeth and everything." He goes, "I don't own a black dog." So he went over to the door, opened it. Nothing there, man. Just nothing in there. And the guy's like, "There's no goddamn way that dog got out of there. There's no other way to get out but that door." He said, "When I opened the door, it was right there. I slammed the door shut and threw this big rock in front of it, and it hasn't moved." I'm like, holy shit, man. And then they started seeing it in the house. The construction workers were seeing it in the house, in the hallways and stuff. They seen it in the hallway, snarling his teeth, growling. It started out when we didn't see it, we heard it. We heard the nails on the wood floor, like a dog. You know how a dog has nails, and you hear it. Yeah, that's how it started out when we started hearing it. It was wild, man.
Yeah, and there's something in the book about seeing the red eyes in the basement.
Yeah. If
I remember correctly.
Yep, red eyes in the basement. I mean, the construction workers were holding conversations with, you know, the one construction worker got there early one time, and they were getting there early to beat the heat because it was hot, and they would start like 3 a.m. And one construction worker got there before everybody, and he started working, and he said someone, you know, he thought it was one of the workers. They started talking to him, and he's talking back to him. You know, they're having a conversation for like almost an hour, and finally, you know, one of the workers showed up, and he come in, and he hears the guy talking, and he's like, "Who the hell are you talking to?" And he's like, "I'm talking to you, you dumbass." He's like, "I just got here." He's like, "What?" He's like, "Who the hell am I talking to?" He goes, "I don't know, dude, but you wasn't talking to me. I just got here literally like 30 seconds ago." And he's like, "Dude, I just had a conversation with somebody that's not here." And he's like, "Yeah, dude, there's no one here. I'm the only one here." He's like, "Holy shit, man." He was freaked out. He's like, he didn't come in at 3 o'clock in the morning anymore.
That's enough to make you shit your pants. Yeah, like, especially if you're not into the paranormal.
He had a conversation with a ghost for like almost an hour. That's insane.
Yeah. So, what made you bring your wife on the first investigation to this one?
I don't know. She doesn't go anymore. She's like, "Nah, I'm not doing this shit anymore." I don't know why. I figured that'd be a good idea, and that wasn't a good idea.
Yeah.
And now she's like, "It's stupid ghost shit you always do." I'm like, "Yeah, no, yeah. That's why you want to do it, right?" Oh man, I'll tell you, man. I've had some really weird shit happen over the years with this stuff, man, and it just gets weirder.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that was one of those cases. It was just like, wow, the phenomena was unbelievable, man. It's like shit that movies are made of,
Yeah.
I mean, they'll probably never make this a movie, but I'm telling you, man, it was the most amazing place I've ever investigated. And, I had it for a while, I investigated for a good bit, man. And it was unreal, man. The whistling and stuff that I heard was by far the most amazing stuff I've ever heard in a case. Direct communication, intelligent communication between the stuff.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Really unbelievable. To whistle a tune and it whistles the exact tune back,
right.
I swear to God, I thought it was an echo, and I started whistling different tunes and nothing. But I whistled this one particular tune and it liked it and it would whistle it back. I mean, verbatim, I'm like, holy shit, man. This is amazing. Amazing. Really, really creepy stuff sometimes too.
So I know you can't disclose the place, but is it open to the public now since they renovated? Is it a private residence?
Yeah, it's a private residence. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh shit. Good luck to those people.
Yeah. I'm surprised they haven't called us, to be honest.
Right.
I actually think a doctor owns it now. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's beautiful place there. They renovated it. It finally got renovated. I tell you, it looked really good. It 10 times better than it ever did when we first stepped into it. That. But I can tell you one thing. They're definitely experiencing paranormal phenomena. That is for damn sure. That is one of the hauntedest places I've ever been in my entire life. And I've been in a lot of places, the famous places, Pennhurst and Fort Mifflin, Fort McHenry. I've been, Fort Niagara. Dude, I've been all over the place, man. And by far, that is the most haunted place I've ever been in.
Yeah, I would tell everybody to go out and definitely read Unholy Structure. I was happy to be a beta reader on that, and it is a wonderful book, and there's so much more with that case. We could talk for the next hour about that case. We could
talk for a week about all the shit.
And we've only touched base on a couple of the cases that you've had, but they're just incredible cases and experiences. And it just, every time, like we were talking about before, every time you think you have an answer, it just brings up 1,000 more questions or more.
Yeah.
And
it does.
Yeah, it's just, but that's what keeps us going, is trying to figure out what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, like every time you think you got something figured out, another twist is on the shit. You're like, God damn it, why can't it be the same every time and it's different? I know when I'm investigating, we got all the bells and whistles, like you said. We got the K2s, the EMF detectors, thermal imaging. We got all that shit. But the bread and butter is audio and video, man. That's the most important thing to me.
And personal experiences.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to get an answer for a client. I need real proof, man. A meter going off don't mean shit to me. You know what I mean? Okay, it went off. What caused it to go off? There's a lot of things that make a K2 go off, EMF detector go off. But when you hear a voice out loud and there ain't nobody else in the room but you, dude,
Yeah.
that's proof.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got some shit going
Yeah.
on, you know?
Yeah.
That's the bread and butter to me, man. You know, video, audio, you get that shit. There's no disclaiming it. You know what I mean? You can't disprove it. There it is. It's in black and white, man. You know?
Yeah, and that's what's always excited me, and the personal experiences too.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had some crazy personal experiences. Not that long ago, I had what felt like somebody reached inside of me and grabbed me by the spine.
Oh wow!
And I had to get out of the place. And as soon as I walked out, my cousin was with me, and there's a bunch of other people too in this jail. And as soon as I walked outside, we were using the geoport. And my cousin said, "Why are you fucking with my cousin? Why are you bothering him?" And plain as day, all 5 of these people heard the geoport, a voice come out of it say, "He started it first."
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and I don't provoke or anything. Yeah, I was just asking questions, but there's a nasty spirit in this jail, and I think it was the 3rd time I've been there, so I think he's pissed off because I actually got a picture of him. And I got a picture of his face. I can send it to you. It's crazy. I can't explain it. Nobody else can explain it.
Wow.
But yeah, just crazy shit like that. And that just happened like a month and a half ago, you know. And so it just I never had that happen before. I mean, I've been affected where I've had to go outside and, you know, collect myself, but nothing to that extent, nothing that nasty, you know, affecting me physically. But yeah, it's just and we could sit here and trade stories and talk for another 8 hours.
That's why I love this stuff, man. I love it. I love talking about it. And I like educating people about it too, man, because it ain't all, you know, they watch these stupid ass TV shows, man, and they think that shit is law. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's not, man. That's not paranormal investigating, man. That shit is entertainment. You know?
Yeah. And just like the families that, you know, you deal with, it's real to them. It's not entertainment.
Yeah. This is no bullshit, man. This is serious.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And when paranormal investigators go in there that really don't know what the hell they're doing and talking about, you know, they picked up 4 ghosts on that stupid camera, ghost tube shit, you know, and so you got 4 ghosts, we picked up 4 images. You're giving them a false scare, man. Like, you're scaring them for what? Why? You have no proof to validate that bullshit on that phone that you just, you know what I mean? There's no proof at all to validate your claims at all. You know?
Somebody smarter than me said this, and I kind of stole this quote, but and I don't remember who said it, but when we go to investigate, we investigate stories of a haunting. We don't investigate a haunting.
Exactly.
Because that's all you have going in. And so I think it's healthy to go with a skeptical mind.
Yes.
At first, not saying that I don't believe the people because I wasn't there. So I can't discount what happened to them. But if we can go in and say, no, this is just, you know, pipes banging, or like you were saying with the other house, maybe the heating system, and give them peace of mind that this is just normal things that, you know, or the toilet's flushing by itself. Well, it just needs new guts, you know, or the faucet's coming on by itself. Well, the faucet is just old and it just needs to be replaced, you know, things like that. The seals
might be bad in it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And cause some of these cases, that's what it is, you know, or a door maybe, you know, out of square, so it'll open on its own if it doesn't latch, you know. And some people, because they watch these movies and TV shows, they jump straight to the paranormal when it's probably not.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And so just going in and educating in that way. And because if you go in with the mind that, okay, I'm going to see if I can disprove this rather than prove it, on a certain level, you know, and then if you can debunk the shit and you're catching EVPs and other evidence and, you know, that you can show to them, okay, well, maybe it is haunted, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I go into it always with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? They tell me the stories. I'm never going into it thinking it's haunted. You know what I mean? Because you go into a house thinking it's haunted, automatically, you know, you're pumping yourself up and you're pumping your team members up to think that something's there. You know what I mean? And there might not be anything there. But now everything's, you know, a demon. Oh, foul smell. That's demon. Scratches. That's demon. I've had all that shit happen to me. I've had foul smells. I've had scratches. I've heard the 3 knock shit, you know. Oh, that's demonic. Who made this rule up that shit's demonic? You know what I mean?
Right.
Who made this up? I've had it all happen. I had never seen a demon. I've never seen anything demonic. I've had some scary shit happen, but you're in the dark. Things happen. yeah, you're going to get startled. You know what I mean? Your mind's in a different place when you're in the dark. You know what I mean? So when shit happens like that, yeah, it's going to scare you. But I've had the foul smell happen one time in 20 plus years. I've smelled that one time in a case that I couldn't explain. And it smelled like death, and I could not explain it. It smelled like death and feces mixed. It was pretty gross, and I couldn't explain it. And I've been scratched, and I've heard the 3 knocks, and, you know, that doesn't mean it's a demon. Maybe that's the only way this thing's able to communicate is through a foul smell or scratching you or pushing you or knocking 3 times. You know what I mean? I think the whole 3 knock thing is kind of weird because it does happen like that. But is it demonic to say it, you know? I don't know whoever made that shit up. You know what I mean? I think maybe the Warrens did. I don't know. You know what I mean? I think the Warrens made that up. I don't know. But, you know, everybody thinks that's law about, you know, demonic shit, you know? Like, dude, it's just like paranormal shit. We have no idea what the hell's going on, man. We really don't. We're trying, you know? I mean, but the shit is so unpredictable. I don't think we're ever going to find an answer, man. It gives you little bits and pieces of shit, you know? Here's an EVP, you know, here's a knock, here's a door opens, you know, you might see a shadow. That's about the extent of it, you know what I mean? Very rarely you go in a house like you see on these conjuring movies and shit's flying around, and, you know, I've never seen that, you know, where the whole house is like erupting and shit's flying all over the place like the Poltergeist movie, you know what I mean? And you're just like,
the walls are bleeding and shit.
Like I've never seen anything like that, you know what I mean? Like I've seen weird shit, like shit moving on its own and doors opening up and closing and disembodied voices, scratches, like I've seen all of it except anything demonic, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But, well, like I had the pleasure of talking to Andrea Perrin here on the show.
Yeah, I've talked to her time ago.
Yeah, what an awesome lady. But
she's very sweet.
You know, her book, the series, her 3-volume series of books about, you know, her family's time in the Conjuring house. They lived there for 10 years, and all this stuff happened over the course of 10 years. It's not like in the movie they make it seem like it was a day.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
And people need to understand that too. Like, it happened because Andrea was 12 when they moved in, and they sold the house when she was 22 in college. So 10 years. And they didn't have shit happen every day. She'll tell you that, you know, there were major things that happened. You know, the biggest thing was when the Warrens came in and provoked, you know, her mother to be thrown across the room. Yeah. You know, but
father wound up punching Ed Warren in the face.
And the Warrens were only there once, but the whole movie's about the fucking Warrens.
Yeah, like,
you know.
Dude, it's just like, it's movie bullshit, you know?
Yeah, she told me the movie is 5% true.
Yeah. Most movies are like that, you know what I mean? Like, I've talked to Dr. Barry Taff exclusively a lot of times. I met him at a Paracon. We became friends, and he talked about the entity case to me, and I was always fascinated about that case that happened in Culver City. He talked about the movie, and because he was a advisor to the movie, and he said a lot of the movie is true, except the ending. He said the ending is like movie bullshit. He said, but that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to get this woman into a controlled environment, which is smart. That's what a scientist would do. You know, they would get this woman to go into a controlled environment and observe her and see the phenomena happening and try to figure out, okay, we have her in a controlled area. What makes this thing work? How's it working? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Try to figure out what's causing the phenomena. And that's what needs to happen. But the phenomena is so unpredictable. You never know where it's going to happen or when it's going to happen. So how do you control something like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's physically impossible. That's the bad part about what we do is like, hey, when's this shit going to happen? When it does happen, you luck out on it.
Right. Yeah. And that's I look at it like it's fishing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you catch some, sometimes you don't.
Hey, you're throwing out the bait, waiting for the fish to eat it. You know what I mean? It's just like the same with ghost hunting, you know, or paranormal investigating or whatever you want to do. You know, it's just like you're sitting in the dark. Like Carl says, he goes, we're just sitting in the dark talking to ourselves again, you know?
Yeah.
But when you have that one disembodied voice happens, it makes it all worthwhile. You know what I mean? Because you're like,
right.
I sat here all night and I just heard one voice, but that one voice was amazing.
Yeah. John, I hate to end the conversation but I will definitely have you back on and we can chat some more for sure.
And this was awesome. We can do a EVP night, man. I don't care. We can do the stuff from the book. You know, I got a bunch of body voices and stuff like that from that case, and you'll love it, man. That's good shit.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Everybody go check out Unholy Structure by Anna Maria Manalo, and that's about that crazy case we were talking about. And also, if you want more information on John, you can visit the Harrisburg Area Paranormal's website, Harrisburg Area Paranormal, and also check out John's podcast, The Paranormal Journal. I listen to it. I enjoy it. I like how you have guests on sometimes, but sometimes you're just talking about topic yourself, and I just find it all fascinating. And everybody needs to go check out your show as well. Thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks, Eric, man. I enjoyed being on as your guest, man. It was awesome, and let's do it again for sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right, everybody, stay safe out there. Have a good day. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Unseen Paranormal Podcast. Join us next week for an all-new, amazing guest. And in the meantime, please go on Spotify or Apple and give us a rate and a review. And go over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Also, if you would like to submit your story, you can email it to unseenparanormalpodcast@gmail.com. And you can remain anonymous if you like. Once again, thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. Stay safe out there.